the third time we're starting this episode.
It's all my fault.
That's okay. Today we are going to be going over underrated things to do in Epcot, which is super exciting. I can't believe we actually haven't done this yet because we've done Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom, but we haven't done Epcot or Hollywood Studios yet. And that was like a year ago we did Animal Kingdom. So here we are, 5 underrated things to do in Epcot. We're each going to go through 5. So Mom, what did you put in your number 5?
My number 5 was just kind of sitting and getting something to eat and just watching the people go by. Mm-hmm. I think the underrated thing to do in Epcot is actually to stop. I thought that stopping and just sitting, I love to do that because every once in a while I do need a break. But I think that there's so many different like little kiosks and stuff to get food and everything. As much as getting food is people go just to get the food. For me, it's more, let's have a snack or a drink or something and get a rest. And I think the underrated thing is just to sit down and watch the people go by.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, especially in Epcot,
watching.
because it seems to be more international. You can notice more international in different places and different...
Well, I don't necessarily think it's more international. I think there's less like families with young children there.
Yes,
so
you just get that
notice
more
a different
feel.
Crowd is what it is.
That's what I was trying to say, that you get... The crowd is different because of the fact that there are less children. It's still lots of kids, but little less children than there are.
Yeah, but I feel like you see a lot more of like, couples or like older like groups of friends and things like that. So I definitely agree in that sense that it is fun to just sit and like watch the people. Epcot, of course, too, unlike Magic Kingdom, they don't have like, you can openly drink in the park as well. So that changes the crowd. So you can get
a drink, you can get a snack, you can get a bench, you can sit at one of those open air restaurants that they have around the lake, like when you go to like Mexican pavilion or you go to the Moroccan on the water there. When you're sitting there, it's all open so that people are going by and you could just be sitting watching all the people just go by.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, now in my number 5, I tried to find exactly what this is called online, but I cannot find it anywhere. But it's the Circle Globe Show that's right next to Communicore Plaza. It's technically within that garden area of like where like it's the whole new area that they just put in Epcot. It's within the garden area. It's kind of right near Journey of Water and kind of walking that area. But it's this big globe thing basically, and they have acrobats that go on there and they create this whole acrobatic show. I've seen it once. I thought it was super cool though. There was a huge crowd around watching the acrobats on it. The globe thing spins the entire time.
I didn't see that.
These 3 acrobats are just on it the whole time. It's funny. We actually walked past it and we said, "What do you think that is for?" And I said it's probably for a show, but I didn't know what the show was.
Yeah, I haven't seen the show. I saw the show on the big screen and the stage, but I didn't see that.
No, that's different. That's completely different from this. Right. So that's actually in Communicore Plaza. This is not actually in Communicore Plaza. It's next to it. So it's more of in like that garden area is what it is. So I think it's really cool. I feel like it's very easy to miss. There were no posted signs of like when the acrobats come out and do their show. I don't even really know how long the show is. I would say maybe like 10 to 15 minutes, I would say. There isn't like a whole lot of seating either. Everyone's kind of just like standing watching them for the short period of time. But yeah, it's something new in Epcot to do. It's something very interesting. And I feel like it's very unique as well in that aspect to have like these acrobats come out and do this really cool show. Literally, as I was watching, I was like, wow, I would get dizzy right now watching this. It's like for them to stay on there and just like doing this whole show around it, which is really cool. So I'm glad that they added that to the area, like something just a little bit different and something just unique. And I feel like that's like really easy to add, just like a little
Maybe they
show
do it like the cavalcades, like, when the cavalcades just show up. Maybe they just start the show and just assume that people are going to stop and watch.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And they play loud music during it. So you kind of know something is happening. And so, so it's again, not in the actual plaza itself. It's right outside of it in like the garden area. And when the globe thingy is not in use, there's just a little rope around it, but you can still sit at the benches and stuff that's right there. But I thought it was really cool. So, all right, what's in your number 4?
My number 4 was concert places. There are 2 especially that I like. The one behind UK.
Yes.
Because the bands that play in there are very good. Very cute little courtyard, very pleasant, very sweet. I mean, you could sit back there even when the bands aren't playing. But I thought that's an underrated thing that nobody really talks about. You only kind of hear the music and say, oh, I should go back there and see what's going on. Yeah. And the other one is the Canadian stage. Yep. Those people that play up there are really good. Like I said, I never really pay attention to the schedule. If we happen to be walking by and they're there, then we sit and listen to them or watch them or whatever. And I think that a lot of that stuff is overrated. I mean, they make a big deal about the American stage.
Underrated, yeah.
But the other stuff that they have, the bands and different things, they kind of, unless you really go looking for it, it's like, you kind of can miss it.
I actually had this on my list and then I took it off for something else.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, I definitely agree because I think it's one of those things where it's like they bring in these local bands. So for the Canada ones, it's local bands from Canada. They come and they play. They always sound phenomenal.
Right, they're
they
great.
They have little show times. They play a lot of times their own music. So it's like actual like original music that they're playing, which is really cool. It's not just like Disney music or something.
No, it's like their actual music.
Yeah, same thing with the UK Pavilion. It's like local, British bands come and play, or sometimes it's like British Irish bands. It kind of depends. Right. But yeah, but it's so cool though, honestly, to see that. And again, the UK one especially is like gigantic. Like that that area is really big.
Well, the whole area
it's like a whole
is nice.
garden.
Right, it's whole gardens, and you got the gazebo there, and you got these guys playing, and it's very relaxing, and you're having fun. And like I said, I don't think they play it up as much as they play up some of the other stuff, and it's kind of underrated. I mean, people don't talk about it. I've never really heard many people talk about it.
And like, what a fun opportunity that is too, to like come to Epcot and just like play your music
play there
on these stages. Again, the times is usually posted outside of when they're going to come and play, or if they're even playing that day, because they don't always have a band that's playing at the time. So definitely just see the posted times, just so you know when they're playing. But definitely great. I do think that is underrated, and that was literally on my list, but I took it off my list for something completely different. But something similar. I took it off for Sergio in the Italy Pavilion. So Sergio is the Italian juggling and comedian act, and I just really like Sergio. I think he's really funny. He's another similar thing to those bands where he comes out, his performance is only 20 minutes. It's kind of random during the day when he comes out. There usually is a posted time if he's performing that day of like what times he'll be out, so you'll know when to go see him. But he doesn't perform every day though, so just keep that in mind that sometimes when you go there, they may be no posted times because the cast member may not be in that day.
Especially during Christmas, they have La Befana that comes out.
Yeah, so sometimes they have other shows and stuff. So yeah, but I do think Sergio is really fun, and I specifically picked Sergio because I think he's a very funny act as well. Because not only is he juggling all these things, but he kind of like has audience participation. He's blowing his whistle the whole time, so it's very loud. Again, he has like people come like do things.
He gets a big crowd.
Yeah, often he has like kids come and help him too, so it's very interactive. And yeah, he always gathers a big crowd because it's a quick show. You don't have to also like wait either. You can just stand there, watch for a few minutes, and leave. But a lot of people end up staying the full like 15 to 20 minutes as he's juggling because it's just so cool and just something just different.
So, but it's another thing where I think people walk by and go, "Oh, look at that! Let's go see what's going on."
So you can just like see it going by, or you can stop and watch the whole thing. But I think it's really fun, and one of those something that's just I feel like a lot of minds are kind of like that, but just something that's fun and different to do. All right, what's in your number 3?
My number 3 was the aquarium at the Living Seas.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We love aquariums. And every city we go to, we try to get to their aquarium. So we've been to a lot of aquariums. It's not a big one. They've got the manatees upstairs that you can go up and watch the manatees float and feed and whatever. You've got the big tank that if you go through the ride, you'll see, you go through, see the tanks. But you can go up there and watch with the dolphins and different things, the sharks swimming around, and just see them swimming. And then you've got the aquarium where they have those tubed aquariums that have all the other fish, all the coral reefs, all the little seahorses. At one point, they did have a nursery where you could actually see all the baby fish that were born that they were nursing and doing. Sometimes that's open, sometimes it's not. But I think that it's a very, very miniature aquarium, but it's still an aquarium. They've got all the information for the fish there. You can sit and watch those fish. I just love to just watch them swim, just to see them moving and see the colors and how they live in the coral reef. And I just love aquariums. And I think that that's another thing that people talk about the ride, and they talk with Crush and all the stuff that goes on in that pavilion, but they don't always talk about the aquarium. So to me, it's underrated per se, but I think it's a really great place to go spend a little time.
Yeah, no, definitely great. I do have this on my list, but it's at a different part of my list. But in my number 3, I have Inside the Temple of Heaven at the China Pavilion. So inside of this pavilion, they have the Reflections of China, which is a 360 circle vision show. We don't watch that show because I don't really like 360 shows that much. I just don't really. They're very dizzying when I'm in them, so I don't really like 360 shows. But there is like a little museum area inside of this pavilion that is all dedicated to Disneyland Shanghai, and I think it's such a cool area because one, I think a lot of people are never going to go to Disneyland Shanghai, so just to see what that park looks like, but also how that park is crafted so differently from all the other parks. It opened in 2016. It's the newest Disney park in general, and so because of that, they did so many different things for it. They also really wanted Shanghai's park to be very distinctly Chinese rather than like an American park coming to China, which is kind of what Hong Kong's park is like an American park coming to China. So the Shanghai park is very different in that sense, and so they really showed there's a whole map of like the layout of it, how they thought through the layout, how they have the 12 Chinese zodiac animals are incorporated throughout the park as well, the little changes that they made to costuming, to food, to the rides, the lands, everything, the theming, so that it fit more to be a Chinese Disney park rather than an American park just in Asia. And so it's such a cool exhibit, and I love it. I've always loved it when it first opened, and then we went again recently just to see it again, and it's just really cool to see because I hope one day I can make it to Disneyland Shanghai. I definitely will, but I don't know when that's going to be. So, but also to see some of the things of like what inspired them to make certain aspects of the park. Like for instance, Donald Duck is a really big character within like all of Asia, in Disneyland Tokyo as well. That Donald Duck is a beloved character there. So how he's really incorporated into the park as well, just as a character that Asian people really love, which is just kind of funny how culturally there's different characters that you just cling to. That it's like around the world, it's just different characters. Like I know for instance, Donald Duck is really big in Disneyland Tokyo, but Daisy Duck is not. Apparently you don't see Daisy Duck like at all. She doesn't exist. And apparently neither really does Minnie either. That it's really focused about Mickey, Goofy, and Donald are like the 3 big ones. ones. And then they also have Duffy the Bear and the Duffy the Bear's
that's right. They have
friends.
Duffy, right?
Yeah, so his friends as well are all major characters too. So it's funny because Duffy the Bear, he used to be a main character in Epcot, and then he faded away.
I said that just when we were there last time. That little pavilion that they used to have him in, and all his costumes that were in that store and stuff, are like kind of gone.
Yeah, they used to have like a whole Build-A-Bear for Duffy the Bear, and how he was like friends with Mickey and a whole thing. And then over the years he faded away from Epcot, but he went real strong in Asia. Okay. So
that's where they moved all the stuff.
Yeah, he lives on there, because I always wondered kind of what happened to him. It's like, nothing happened to him. They just pushed him to Asia, because the American crowd, I think we were all too focused on, I would say, like the characters themselves and the princesses, but the princesses aren't as big of a deal in the Asian parks.
Wow. Okay.
So it's like they're acknowledged, but they're not as beloved, I would say, as like the American audience see the princesses, which is just fun to see and see those differences. And this whole exhibit goes through that. It kind of goes through. Right. It's like what they focused on,
cool,
how they built it.
Very cool.
What the rides look like. Again, the map of the park. It's like, again, even how, the 12 Chinese animals, it's like how they're incorporated into the park and how they thought of each animal for like the Disney characters as well. And again, it's just a walkthrough exhibit, so you can just walk in,
and you never hear about it.
See it.
Unless you do it, you would say, what is that over there?
Yeah, it's like a lot of people go in there to get out of the sun, because it's in like an air-conditioned pavilion. There's lots of seats, and like people sit on the floor too and stuff.
Right, and before you go into the show, there's a really cool rotunda kind of foyer that you go into.
Yeah, so there's like lots of people go in there, I think, but not to go in there to see that exhibit. And I think it's just a really cool exhibit.
Yeah, you get curious and you go, what's over there?
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, what's in your number 2?
Mine is I figured I'd pick one ride, and that was Living with the Land.
Okay.
I think of all the rides in Epcot, I think Living with the Land is the most underrated one. I think people think because it's about, agriculture and whatever, it's not that, not that important or not that interesting or whatever. I think they've definitely started to try to up their game by changing some of the exhibits when you go through the greenhouse, especially. Christmas, obviously, they've upped it where they put all the lights and make it really fun to go through there. But now they do it even for all the different seasons, and they have all the different places where they show you how they use what they're growing and what they're used for and most of where they come from and stuff. So I think as a ride, it's underrated.
Yeah,
we go on it every time we go.
Yeah, I think it's like within the Disney community, it's a beloved ride and people love it. But I think if you've never been to Disney World before, if you're only going to Epcot once, you would skip Living with the Land.
I think people say, oh, let's go to, Finding Nemo, and let's go over to,
like something with the characters or something more exciting.
Characters and all the all the speedy rides and the Test Track and the other ones. They don't think so much about.
Like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure and Frozen Ever After.
Yes, so. Living with the Land is kind of at the bottom of their list, because it's like, oh, we're going to go on a little boat ride through agriculture and all that kind of stuff. And I think that they don't realize how well it was done and how much.
And I think that ride is so distinctly Epcot as well. Like that's the whole point of world nature, is the fact that it's like how we're all connected to nature and like the importance of nature in the world. And like that's,
that's what I think. I'd pick at least one ride, and if I had to pick one, that would be the one.
I would agree. I think that probably is the most underrated ride within all of Epcot. I'm trying to think if there's another ride, honestly. It's like that ride, maybe Figment, because Figment always has a really short wait.
Right,
it's weird
people really love Figment.
Yeah, it's like as a character, he's beloved, but as a ride, he always has the shortest wait.
Yes, he has the shortest wait.
Not sure how that happens.
He gets more popularity, though, than Living with the Land, because he's that character. Yeah.
And Disney has been upping him more, too, recently.
Yes, recently with the popcorn buckets and all the stuff and all the memorabilia and the merchandise. So Figment is a character, so it draws you to say, oh, that's the Figment ride. Where Living with the Land really doesn't draw you,
Yeah, no, not as much. So, no, definitely agree. And my number 2, I have the Tea Tour in the UK Pavilion. So this is a complimentary tour that Epcot offers. You cannot sign up in advance. You have to sign up like when you get there. You just ask a cast member, can I sign up for the Tea Tour? And they'll put you on the list, basically. They can fill up sometimes, especially in the busy season. So if you really want to do this, make sure you go there early in the day to sign up for the Tea Tour. And so when you're going there, they have a self-guided tour and like a tour with the cast member. So you can also just go through and do the Tea Tour by yourself. But the cast member will take you through the English Gardens that's right outside the UK Pavilion. They go through all the tea that's there, that's being grown there. They teach you about the whole history of tea, as well as specifically the Twinings tea, because that is
I've never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, so it's the whole tea tour. A lot of people say it's really good. It's very short, apparently. It's only like 10 minutes or something like that.
I would think
that
wouldn't take that long.
However, when the tour is finished, they do give you a little bag of teas. So, again, this is a complimentary tour, so you get a little free bag of teas if you do the whole tour. Yeah, I do think it's really interesting. It's one of those things where, again, it's like, for the most part, it's offered every day, but I know the times are very like sporadic, so you really have to make sure it fits into your schedule. Again, as well, rain or shine, so sometimes if it's raining, you're still doing that tea tour.
Standing out there watching them.
And again, they can fill up those. That's the only thing, because again, they only do it like a few times during the day. Sometimes it's by interest too, because I guess in like the slow season, maybe no one wants to do the tea tour, so it's by interest as well of when they can do the tea tours. But I do think it's really interesting. Again, a lot of people don't always know that they have the tea tour. I do think there is a little sign outside saying like ask a cast member about doing the tea tour. I don't know if that's actually what it's called. That's what I'm calling it, is the tea tour. Okay. But it's right outside, and then also it's like it ends or is very near where Alice or Mary Poppins often do their little photo things. So it's like sometimes you'll see them at the end as well, and you can take a photo with them too, like during the tea tour. Yeah, but it is interesting. I think the whole gardens too is really cute too, especially if you're a big tea lover, because again, they have the plants right there with the little sign saying like what this tea is and what the tea is used for, what it can help with sleep or being, whatever it may be. I'm not really a tea drinker, so I don't really know.
Not a hot tea drinker anyway. Yeah.
But I like I've always loved the concept of tea is what it is. Like
she keeps trying.
I've tried so many times. I had my mom when I was a kid buy me this whole Alice in Wonderland tea thing with the loose leaf tea so I could make tea. I had the whole set and I loved the aesthetic of it, but the truth is tea just didn't taste good to me. I've tried many times throughout the years to become a tea drinker, and even iced tea as well. Iced tea I can drink better than the hot tea, but yeah, something with the hot tea, it's just hot water to me. I'm just drinking dirty water. So I don't know.
I drink iced tea, but I like just plain black iced tea.
But the aesthetic of tea, I love. I love the aesthetic of tea. I think tea is so fun. I love smelling the tea bags. I love looking at the teas.
Loves the teacups.
I love the teacups. I love again the loose leaf tea options of how you make the teas. I don't know. I love tea as a culture, even though I don't actually drink tea.
Right, but she just doesn't want to drink it.
For sure. So I need to embrace the tea within and become a tea drinker, but just not anytime soon. But again, this tour though is available and I think is really fun.
We're gonna
and
check that out.
So English, what's more English than tea? Afternoon tea,
Right. It's just like I said, underrated and something fun to do, something different.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a cool restaurant for them to add to the UK pavilion as like a high tea service.
A high tea service, yeah.
Because a lot of high tea services can be super expensive as well. So you can make a lot of money. Like some of the high tea services, even in New York City, is like hundreds of dollars to go to those high tea services. I went to one when I was in Oxford. We splurged and we went to like a traditional high tea service. It was pretty expensive. I don't eat meat or fish, so some of the little sandwiches all had meat in them. There's only a few that I could eat. So in that sense, it's like, well, then I'm just eating, the little biscuits and scones. Right. Great biscuits and scones. I think I just like tiny food is what it is.
Because if you eat tiny food, you feel like you're tasting everything and not filling up.
Because the sandwiches are so cute. They're cut into like these tiny little shapes. The scones and everything are all these tiny little things. They're serving these cute little plates. Like the tea is so fun to drink. I don't know. I love the idea of tea again. So high tea. But I think that would be fun if they had that in the UK pavilion. I don't know. So again, I say that they've been talking for years about putting in a Mary Poppins ride, and I don't think that's done that yet.
Well, the tea service is a little easier. They just have to.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, but that could be right outside the Mary Poppins ride. Get your high tea. But all right, now we're to our number ones. What did you put in your number one spot?
Okay, well, I like sitting, but I also like strolling. So my first underrated thing was, to me, is one of my favorite parts is when we go to the side of the countries, especially. It's just to stroll in and out of all the little shops for the countries. Not necessarily buying much of anything, just kind of seeing what they're offering, because each country has its own culture and its own merchandise. Italy, Germany, you go to any of them, Morocco, you go to any of them, they all have their own stuff that you would buy if you went to their country. So you're looking to see what they have. You've got these little museums tucked away in each one. You've got the scenery tucked away in each one. You can just walk through. You can stop for a snack. You can go eat in a regular restaurant. I just think that strolling through the park is just my favorite part. And that's what, there are times, like I said, when we go in, if we've already done the rides and we've already done everything and we've got an extra morning and we've got an extra day, I would go in there just to stroll through the countries and just, watch the people, go in and out of the stores, see what's going on, see what they're offering, all that kind of stuff.
No, I definitely agree. I think strolling, I think just enjoying the aesthetic of the park in itself is something I think, again, a lot of Disney goers would do, but it's something that I feel, honestly, for all the parks, honestly, it's like not even just Epcot.
It is.
It's like enjoying the aesthetic of all the parks. I feel like even Animal Kingdom, low key, I think that one is one that it's like just enjoying to be where you are. It's just incredible. I agree too, especially for Epcot, because the World Showcase is my favorite overall area of Disney World in the parks.
Right, because when you're strolling, you can, if you're not strolling and taking time to look, then you can miss a lot. Because if you're running from one to the next, and we are lucky that we can do this because we go every year, so you can do it. But there are people who go only once every how many years, or spend all the money to go and bring their kids and do what they have to do. A lot of times you get sucked into running from place to place to do what you need to get done because you want to see the big rides, you want to see the big stuff, you want to do all the things that are rated by everybody else because they've been telling you how wonderful they are. Well, the thing is that if you do that, you miss some of the details because these countries are right on top of each other. It's not like they're all by themselves and the details are there and you can't miss them because they're right in your face. They're right next to each other. So if you go from one to the other quickly, right in that courtyard between them, there could be something going on or something that you want to see or something that makes you feel like you're in that country that you would walk right past.
For sure.
And I think that's completely underrated when people go to someplace. And like you said, any park, mostly Animal Kingdom and Epcot, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I think
because the other Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios is their own lands. But I think mostly Animal Kingdom and Epcot. But Epcot definitely, especially when you're in that side side of the park. The other side of the park has, like with the new Communicore and all that stuff that's going on.
I feel like, again, with all the construction they've done, they've really upped Epcot's game to have the different areas and give them their own land, so to speak, with World Celebration, World Nature, World, I forget, World Discovery, I think is what it's called. And so I think that's great that they did that, so they all do have their distinct feel when you walk through it. And also, again, to make that more cohesive idea of like what Epcot is supposed to represent. So I really like that. It's like bringing the world together through these
bringing everything
themes.
Together and all the different people.
How everything is connected. So I think they did a great job on that. And
so I thought that was the number one underrated thing, because like I said, unfortunately, some people don't have that choice. But if you have the choice to take the time to slow down, like we said, we talked about that when we talked about Magic Kingdom at Halloween with all the pumpkins and the different things in the windows on Main Street, that most people are walking down Main Street looking at the castle and not looking up and not looking over. Well, the same thing with Epcot. You're so busy walking from one place to another, you're not looking up, you're not looking in between. You're missing some of the details of what you'll never see on your own. Like for me, going to Epcot is important to me, and it's really exciting to me because some of these countries make me feel like I'm in that country.
For sure.
And they're countries I will probably never get to. I don't want to travel to some of these countries anymore. I'm getting old. So I don't want to travel to those countries, but I do want to know about them and I do want to see them. And countries I have traveled to, like, Paris and Italy and UK. And when you go there and you're there, you realize that it's the same as what you felt when you were there.
Yeah, you realize that the attention to detail is so accurate. And so it makes it feel that much more genuine when you're in the pavilion in itself.
So that's why I considered it the number one underrated thing.
No, that's definitely fair. And this is where I put the aquarium in my number one, because I think it is very easy to just go on rides and then to forget in the corner of the park that this aquarium is here. It's funny because before I think you said it was a small aquarium. This is the second largest aquarium in the US.
When I say the aquarium itself, that tank is big.
Yeah, by gallon, this is the second largest aquarium in the US. The only beaten by the Atlanta, Georgia aquarium.
It gets dwarfed by Epcot.
It does. That's what I'm saying. The second largest aquarium in the US is in Epcot, and I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Right.
And it's the sixth largest in the world. Again, going by volume of water, like the tank water, that's what it is.
Well, they've got a big tank.
For sure. So I think this aquarium is quite large. There's so much to do in the aquarium itself. Again, it's 2 floors, and I think it's really easy to go on the seas with Nemo and Friends and then leave.
Leave. They walk out the gift shop
and then leave. Maybe come in for Turtle Talk with Crush and then leave. Or again, it's like, there's always just so much to do, I think, in the parks in itself that is easy to walk by these other things that you don't even realize that are there. And I think the aquarium is a big one, because if you actually spend time going through all the tanks, looking at all the fish that are in there, you could be there for like a full hour to 2 hours.
Yeah. I mean, I could spend a lot of time in there. I just love it.
So for instance, some of the animals that are there is the West Indian manatees. I think one of the manatees has recently been moved, so I think there's only one manatee right now.
They're so cute.
But again, they're often moving animals around. That's for the animals, the animals themselves. Like for instance, Animal Kingdom just moved their lions out, and they just got 3 new lions in. And again, that has to do with like breeding purposes and just the animals themselves, like, enrichment. So one of the manatees has been moved. I think there's one manatee left that's currently there, and I'm sure they'll probably get another manatee. They have 3 common bottlenose dolphins. So we have seen the dolphins. It is so cute to watch them swim around, honestly.
Especially when they come up to the window.
They do. They also have sand tiger sharks, the Nassau tang, a threadfin butterfly fish, cowtail stingrays, orange-lined triggerfishes, sandbar sharks, a bowmouth catarfish, a bonthede, I don't know, sharks, an Atlantic tarpon, shovel-nosed catarfish, a green sea turtle, a black-nosed shark, and a zebra shark. A lot of sharks, honestly.
A lot of sharks. Yeah, you're looking at sharks, you're looking at dolphins, you're looking at sea turtles. I mean,
for sure.
It's what you go to the aquariums for.
And that's only a small list, and that's just just the sharks, I think. When I'm looking on this list, I'm looking right now here to just read some of the animals.
Right.
That's in some of the bigger tanks. Because again, too, like this area, I think it's like when you're in the aquarium area, because the aquarium backs up to the Coral Reef restaurant, and then when you're in the Coral Reef restaurant, that's like a whole wall of that restaurant.
Oh yes, we ate in there. So it's very like, disconcerting. You order yellowfish,
as the fish are watching
yellowtail snapper for dinner, and then it swims by the window while you're waiting for your dish to come out.
No, for sure. But then they have all those little tiny tanks, like the little seahorses and
those
the eels,
are my favorites.
and all like the little tiny fish, like all the fish from like Nemo. They're all there in those little baby tanks, and they're all just so cute. And they have the little, I forget what they're called, the little sea urchins that wear the little hats, and they're so adorable. So
I know, they're just so cute.
Apparently, those sea urchins, the behavior is called masking. It's kind of like when your cat hides under something, but you can still clearly see them, and they think that they're hidden. That's what the sea urchins are doing, and that's why they put little rocks or hats on their heads, is that they think they're like hiding themselves as they put the things on their heads. But I think that's so cute. Those little sea urchins.
I know, but just even just watching the seahorses, I mean, they just it's just amazing.
I know, it's so cute. So that's what I'm saying. There's so much to do in the aquarium itself. I mean, like, it's all inside, so it's pretty air conditioned for the most part.
Yeah, I make everybody stay. Yeah. Sometimes, my husband is like, "Oh, we're done? No, we're not done. We're going to stay right here. Go sit down."
Sometimes you do have to fight the children to look at the tanks because sometimes the kids will really be right up close, and it's like, well, I want to be up close
tall,
too.
So, like, in front of us.
But it's fun though, and it's like one of those things where, especially in the dolphin tank specifically, it's like you can really tell the vastness of the tank itself, because sometimes the dolphins will be really far away and you don't see them until they swim closer to you, which means that water is so deep that they could be on the other side of the tank and you just cannot see them, even though the water is clear.
Because they need that. They need the exercise. They need to be moving.
It's just such a large tank is what it is, and that's just incredible if you think about it. So,
and like I said, for people who like us who go to every aquarium, I mean, why not go to that one? I mean, it's already included in your admission.
For sure. There are, of course, other experiences that you can do. That's, I think some of them you have to pay extra for, so they're not all free. So for instance, there's the Epcot Dive Quest. So this is one where you can scuba dive in the tanks themselves. I know this one, it says it lasts about 3 hours, and it's a guided like tour sort of underwater, and they kind of show you the backstage of like what the aquarium looks like, and that one you do have to pay for, I believe. They also have the Epcot Seas Aqua Tour. This one you do not, I don't think, you do go in the water. Yes. Yeah, so I think you just go swimming in the water, but you don't scuba dive.
Like I think they put a helmet on.
Yeah, it's not like full scuba diving, but it's like
an aqua where they put that helmet.
Kind of like snorkeling sort of in a way. Sort of. So so that's something you can do. Oh yeah, it says scuba assisted snorkel system is what it is. So you can do that as well. So that is something that's also kind of fun to do, especially if you're not like a full scuba diver, you don't want to do a full scuba diving tour. And then they also have the Dolphins in Depth is what it's called. And this one says is an experience where guests go on a tour mostly centered around the dolphins, and then you kind of just get to experience with the dolphins. You can go in the water, but you also don't have to go in the water. So if you don't really want to go in the water, but you just want an up and close experience with the dolphins, I feel like this one would be good. But you can go in the water and you can be right next to the dolphin and hang out with the dolphins. So again, I do believe all of these do cost extra money, so you do have to sign up for those tours. But I'm sure there could be discounts. You never know if you're DVC or something like that.
Oh yeah, I would assume DVC annual pass get discount.
But again, also it's like if you have someone that just really loves fish and you want to do something extra there, I think these are definitely probably worth it. And of course, it is worth mentioning that this whole area, this building is quite large as anyone can imagine, and so you can do other private events here, such as weddings, conventions, anything for work related things as well. So man, like how cool would it be to get married and then see all the little fishies all around you? How cute would that be? And then you can go to the Coral Reef restaurant and have your reception.
Right. We have not been to the Coral Reef in a very long time because
well, they have
it's a fish restaurant.
Yeah, they do have a limited menu, and I don't eat fish
Amanda
at all.
doesn't really eat anything.
My
on the
mom's
menu.
not the biggest fish eater either.
No, but
it's like you don't dislike fish, but you're not like a seafood
We have not
connoisseur.
been there in a long time, but when we were there, it was very good, and it's very pretty.
It is,
and it's like leveled.
I think that's why you're going, really.
Right,
so.
It's leveled so that you don't have to worry that we're not going to be sitting right next to the tank. We happen to be sitting right next to the tank when we got our table, but you don't have to sit right next to the tank. They level the floor up so that any table you're sitting at, you're not looking over and seeing somebody's head. You're actually looking over their head to the tanks.
For sure.
So I have to admit they did a nice job. Now whether they changed it or not since we've been there, I don't know, but that's what it was when we went.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So again, to me, this is the number one underrated thing because it's just so easy to overlook. There's so much you can do there that I think even like the Disney community sometimes doesn't really talk about. So there's a lot you can do there that I don't always see on Instagram or.
Well, it both made our list. So
yeah, for sure. I knew the aquarium was going to be on your list. I was curious because I tried to go for very specific things in my head when I was thinking of like things. I was like, all right, what is truly underrated in this park? I did Google some things too, just be like, what can I find?
I did. And I just went right off the top of my head and I found all 5 that I wanted to say.
Yeah, I was trying to think of again some of the new things, some of the older things, but I knew you definitely have the aquarium. I wasn't sure what else you might have, but
I love aquariums.
But all right, this is where we would normally go into some Disney news, but this is actually a very pre-recorded episode. We are still recording in 2024 right now. This is into the future, so we have no Disney news for right now. So instead, we'll just do some Disney birthdays. On January 20th is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I don't think that's his birthday. I think that's just the day that we honor him.
That's just the day that they.
But I don't know. Happy birthday to Martin Luther King Jr. whenever it is your birthday. It is mine and my fiance's anniversary on January 21st. So happy 3-year anniversary to my fiance. And on January 26th, it is my Uncle Jimmy's birthday, who is my mom's brother. Happy birthday also to him.
My younger brother.
Yeah. I was going to say, we don't have that many January birthdays in our family. There's only a few.
January's quiet.
Yeah, it's just my cousin Madison and my Uncle Jimmy. And that's kind of it. I don't think we have anyone else in January.
No other family.
All right, this is where we have our Disney memories. Do you have a Disney memory for today's podcast?
Oh, it was funny because my biggest Disney memory was going to Living Season, ordering yellow. Yeah. That's fish. And as I'm sitting there, the fish went by my face. And I'm like, oh, God, how am I supposed to eat now?
Yeah.
That memory popped into our head while we were talking. That's my biggest memory is going to the Living Seas. If we're talking about underrated, going to the Living Seas and enjoying the meal and enjoying the view and everything else.
No, for sure. So this isn't a memory, but this is I just thought was fun when I was looking up just the aquarium itself, because when it said that Living with the Seas or the Seas with Nemo and Friends, Friends, what it's actually called now, was the second largest aquarium. I was just really surprised because I didn't think it was the second
I didn't think it was that big. Like I said, it's a small aquarium.
Again, going by the water gallons is what it's going by.
You know what it is? You know what it is that, yes, it's got tons and tons of gallons of water in that thing.
Yeah.
But you have a limited space where you can actually stand and look at it.
For sure.
So to me, it goes back way far, way wide. To me, it's a smaller, when I said smaller aquarium, I meant, you're not walking around like a big gigantic building like you usually do when you go to an aquarium.
No, I definitely agree. I would have thought it was small too. That's why I was just so shocked to find out.
Yes, I thought it was just like, a tank, where they had some fish and then they have those other, aquarium setups.
Funny enough, I believe we have been to the top 3 at least, because I have been to the Atlantic Aquarium, and then the third is the Shed Aquarium in Chicago, and I do believe we have been there.
Yes,
right?
we went to the aquarium. We went to Chicago. We went to the Atlanta Aquarium.
And that's the only 3 that make the top 15 in the world.
Wow.
So what do you think is the number 1 largest aquarium? I guess I should say, so the Seas with Nemo and Friends, it is 5.7 million gallons, and the Georgia Aquarium is 11 million gallons.
Oh, wow.
And so what do you think the largest aquarium by gallon is in the world?
Oh my God, I don't know. 25 million?
No, it's not 25 million. It is 16. It's a very specific number, actually.
Oh, wow.
It's 16,575,000.
Where is it?
Yeah, this is million. Yeah. It is in Hengqin, China. It's the Chimelong Spaceship Aquarium.
Wow, okay.
The next largest is at the SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, and that one is 15.
Oh, I can imagine. Okay,
million.
I can understand that. Okay.
And then we have the Chimelong Ocean Kingdom, also in Hengqin, China. It was
Wow,
12.8 million. And this one was the Guinness World Record for a very, very long time. So I think these 2 other ones, the Chimelong and the SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, were probably more recently.
I could tell you my favorite aquarium.
Yes.
Maui.
I was going to say the one in Hawaii.
Maui, Hawaii was my favorite aquarium. I thought the way it was set up, the natural feel of it, everything about it. I love the aquarium in Maui.
I know, I'm just looking at the list right now because it's so interesting. Because the next is the Sea Aquarium in Singapore, then L'Oceanographic in Spain, and then United States is the Georgia Aquarium, which is really cool. I remember I loved the Georgia Aquarium when we went because I love whale sharks, and that is the only aquarium in the U.S. that has whale sharks. It's a whole thing of how the whale sharks even got to America. They were going to be euthanized, and they built a special plane and a special tank just to bring the whale sharks to America. And so seeing the whale sharks was like amazing when I was a kid.
That was a good aquarium.
It was like
that aquarium was crowded. It was Thanksgiving weekend. It was really crowded.
But that was such a core memory of me. Yeah. And I have this specific core memory that sometimes I think I made it up, but it's again, this is not a Disney memory. This is just an aquarium memory now. So we're diverging. But I remember standing in the room, and it's like this big room, right? It's like almost like an IMAX theater type room. It's like a leveled room where you can see the big tank where the whale sharks are in, because whale sharks are huge animals. And so they had 2 whale sharks in there, and they were swimming towards each other. And everyone was watching them, and as they swam towards each other, they like bumped noses. But when they bumped noses, it like was a deep sound because these are massive animals that weigh like, I don't know, like how many tons they weigh. And when they did it, everyone in the room was just like, whoa.
I don't remember that.
Noses.
Okay.
It was I think I was standing there by myself because I think you guys had moved on, and I was still just watching them. Yeah. And I partially think it's because I knew they were about to hit each other, because like the way that they were coming at each other very slowly, it's like they're going to bump their little noses. Yeah. And it was so funny though. But I remember standing there. Yeah, I remember standing there looking at that tank for like, it's such a core memory of seeing the whale sharks. I've always loved whale sharks. They're probably my second favorite like aquatic animal. Number 1 is definitely a narwhal.
Do they still have them?
They do have, they still have the whale
you'll have
sharks.
to go back to Atlanta.
I don't think any aquarium in the US has narwhals though. I think maybe, I don't know if there's any narwhals in captivity. I'm not really sure honestly. But whale sharks are very close second though. And they were my first for many years until the narwhal came and bumped them down. So sorry.
Well, you'll have to go back to the Atlanta aquarium.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have to go back there another day. Yeah, all right. But thanks everyone for listening to this week's episode of the podcast, as we just talked about aquariums for half this podcast. So make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, and make sure you follow us on social media, Almost Amanda X. We'll have a dedicated Instagram post, so you can let us know what is your number 1 underrated thing to do in Epcot. Is what we listed things that it's like, oh, that you don't consider them to be underrated, or there's lots of other stuff we didn't talk about that definitely could be underrated. That's for sure. There's so many things. Like I was trying to go through each pavilion, because each pavilion has such unique things that you can do in the pavilion.
Well, that's what I mean. There are a lot of underrated things, especially in Epcot, because like you said, there's all these little...
that park definitely has a lot of little things that you can definitely miss. So it's like, we'd love to know what you consider is underrated and what you do every time that you don't think other people are doing and that they should do. So definitely let us know. And until then,